explain. I think I explained to most everyone while we were waiting. So, but I'll hit that in the end. So, real quickly, I mean, most of you are pretty cognizant of gay rights issues, but I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the main issues that HRC is fighting for. I'm going to tell you a little bit about HRC, about my own story, fill in the holes that the film left, and then we're going to do a Q&A. And the Q&A could be anything. It could be questions about the show, about TV. It could be about HRC. It could be really anything. Just kind of fun. We'll keep it fun. Two things I'll say because I always get these. One is, in the end, I broke my nose because I got in a fight, and that's why I had that thing. And two is, I know I look smaller in person now. But that's just because in DC we had nothing to do except work out and fight for gay rights. So I was like 15 pounds heavier. Plus, my size is good for acting size. Like Tom Cruise is like Snooki size. So that's my defense. I want to thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you also for participating in calling your state senator. This is huge. I cannot stress it enough. If New York passes marriage equality, it's going to be a huge, huge message to the rest of the nation, especially after the recent repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And obviously things are nowhere near where they need to be, nowhere near where we want them, but things are happening, and we live in a time now where we are able to be a part of this change. And so we're going to be able to look back in 20 years and say, hey, things used to be this way, and now they're this way, and I was a part of that. So, I don't know about you guys, but I feel fortunate that I have the access and the ability to do what I do, and so do all of you. So,
hell yeah.
Really quickly, I remember quite well what it feels like to sit through a college lecture. And today I sat through a class and a rape presentation, which was exciting. Waiting to speak about this stuff, and
I owe you.
And so I don't want to keep it like a lecture. I don't want it to be me talking to you. I want this, everybody to kind of give their input and things like that. So I really encourage you, please share your stories, ask questions during the Q&A in the end, and I'll make my portion as short as possible. That being said, I'm not going to be PC all the time, and I apologize if I offend anybody. You can talk to me later if I do. Okay, so Real World. So I went and I filmed Real World. It was July through October of 2009. It aired January through March, April of 2010, so it's fairly recent. It was in Washington, D.C. I never watched the show before. I followed my friend to an audition, like my buddy John. He's the funniest person I know. I followed him, trying to help him get on the show. I never saw an episode in my life, and they ended up calling me back and again. So I went to D.C. not really knowing what to expect, and I went there with the intention of working with an environmental group, because that's what I had done in college a lot of, and I randomly walked into the HRC store to buy a t-shirt. That led to the GM giving me a business card. That led to me going on the website and finding out what HRC was about, and actually setting up the internship. So it was completely random, and that's kind of the beauty, I think, of what MTV chose to show on the season, and what ultimately was my storyline, is that I went to DC as this business student from Colorado, really with no knowledge whatsoever of politics or of DC life, and I ended the season as a gay rights activist, just because throughout the season I had learned enough to piss me off enough to get involved. The more that I became involved with HRC and with their issues, the more that I learned about just how unfair things are, and I saw the direct effect of the minds that I was changing. And so it kind of lit a fire, and it just grew and grew and grew. So by the end of the season, I was training people on how to lobby. I was giving talking points. I was lobbying myself, and it was great. And it only took 3.5 months. So that's why I'm so happy that I get to travel now with HRC and just talk to students and members of different communities in our key states about how easy it is. Because I can't tell you how gratifying it is when you're sitting there and you talk to somebody and you help change their mind, and then you see them change somebody else's mind, and somebody else's mind, and somebody else's mind, and the ripple effect is just tremendous. It's great. It's wonderful. So if you want more information about HRC, their website is pretty simple. It's hrc.org, and they have a plethora of information on there. And the good thing about HRC, and I've worked with a lot of organizations. I work with PFLAG, GLAD, Listen, Trevor Project, Freudian slip, a lot of different organizations, and I love them all for different reasons. The reason I like HRC is because they're based in Washington, D.C., but they have over 1 million members and supporters all throughout the nation. So they have steering committees, they work with churches to help them be more accepting, businesses to rate them on how accepting and equal their policies are. They work with school systems, they work with, obviously, with politicians, with different communities. So they really kind of have their hand in all these different pots, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us changing minds on all levels to ultimately shift the ideas of mainstream culture and get the LGBT community the rights that we deserve. So, and I want to share a story with you really quickly, just to kind of emphasize the need for what we do.